Philosophies like Stoicism and teachings rooted in Eastern spirituality are having a bit of a cultural movement at the moment. Perhaps in an age where you can have 5,000 Facebook friends whilst feeling like you don't have one good real friend, when your girl or boyfriend can dump you over text, and when news about war, famine, and never-ending threats of ecological and political meltdown are beamed straight into the palm of your hand, perhaps people are wondering what's even in their control anymore. Perhaps people are looking for philosophies that aren't just beard-scratching existential musings, but that they can actually apply in their life to remedy the anxiety that easily arises in this technological age of fear and fake news. And all these kinds of teachings can help us to get closer to the root causes, the root dysfunctions leading to anxiety. But it can also be incredibly helpful to actively do certain things that reduce feeding into these anxieties in the first place. And I'm going to be sharing with you 8 things that you can start to do or do right now that will help reduce anxiety and have you feeling calm and at peace again. What's up everyone, it's Alex here at Conscious Personal Growth, where we share strategies for personal transformation and deepening our awareness. So if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that notifications bell. But without further ado, let's get straight to it. The first way to reduce anxiety is to turn off all non-essential notifications on your phone. I don't know if you've noticed, but back in the day when smartphones were fairly new, there was a limited range of apps, and a limited amount of those apps threw up notifications. Facebook, email, and your text messaging app would tell you when you had new messages, which is obviously useful. And there were others that popped up from time to time, but now it seems like almost every single app is just screaming for your attention the entire day. And unless you're a Zen master, all those calls to attention are adding to your tension. Ask yourself these questions like I did. Do I really need to know that 2 people have liked me on the dating app right now? Do I really need to know right now that 2 apps are now running in the background to save power? And honestly, do I even really need to know right now that I have new matches, notifications, or even messages? There are obviously some things that you may decide need your immediate attention, like perhaps you're waiting on some messages from a high-paying client that it would be wise to reply to promptly. But any that are non-essential, just turn them off. You'll reduce your day-to-day tension, and because uninterrupted deep work is required to get into the flow state, you'll be more productive at the same time. The second way to reduce anxiety is to unfollow social media accounts with unrealistic, photoshopped beauty standards. And yes, this applies to both men and women. For women, it's important to realize that your face and body in the mirror is unlikely to ever match up to someone's filtered selfie taken with meticulously crafted makeup in perfect lighting by a camera that automatically smooths skin, adjusts for perfect color, and in some cases even adds CGI blusher, lipstick, and eyelashes. And to carry this awareness so that whenever you're exposed to unrealistic beauty standards, it doesn't affect you like it does others. But it's also strategic to unfollow these accounts that prey on your insecurities and add little value to your life. But men, you're not free from this either. Don't get me wrong, there are many athletes and bodybuilders that can be highly inspiring to follow. They've obviously reached high levels of fitness or aesthetics, and with the ones that aren't painting on their abs or always showing images taken by professional photographers when they are in peak state, it can be inspiring to have them pop up now and again to have motivate you towards what's possible in the realm of strength, movement, or agility. But there are many others who are quite obviously on a lot of steroids, and their feed is full of touched up photos edited in a way to maximize muscle tone and definition, taken at a time when they were probably dangerously dehydrated with their blood pressure up in the stratosphere. So a way to reduce the anxiety of never measuring up: unfollow these accounts. The third way to reduce anxiety is to use a calendar to effectively plan and organize your time. Because maybe this is hard for you to believe, but I used to be someone who was actually frightened of looking at a calendar. Yes, actually fearful. Anything involving too many numbers sent my head spinning, and dates were no exception. I didn't put anything on a calendar and instead relied on all these notes and reminders, and this helped create all this anxiety where some days I didn't know what was coming or whether I was coming or going. And at some point I had to say to myself, look, this is ridiculous. If you're going to be a teacher or a trainer or a coach, you need to be able to effectively plan and organize your time. And I simply faced up to it and started progressively adding more and more to my Google Calendar. And now I'm a whiz at adding stuff in and setting reminders, and it feels like a whole world of weight off my shoulders, knowing that I know what's coming and not having to obsessively think about it all the time and worry that I've forgotten something. And the same applies for to-do lists and reminder apps and anything else that helps you effectively organize and plan, because when you really have a grip on it, you'll be flying. The fourth way to reduce anxiety is to stay true to your word as best as possible. Answer people if you said you were going to answer them, and build a habit of reliably showing up for the things you said you were going to do or places you said you were going to be. I understand it's a busy world with demands trying to pull us left, right and center, so the best way to tackle this is to learn to say no, and realizing that you're going to be okay if you say no. I get it, you can't meet every demand and you can't be everywhere at once, and sometimes you might even want to curl up on the sofa and watch TV instead of seeing that friend you said you were going to meet. Sometimes we're just a little too run down and ill and we just have to bail. But try as much as possible to actually meet your commitments. And when someone asks if you can do something, take an honest look at your time and energy and politely turn it down if you're pretty sure things could change, because otherwise it creates unnecessary worry that you'll upset someone by bailing on them, or consequences of not showing up to a commitment. But if you know in your heart that you're usually reliable and committed unless there's like extenuating circumstances or you made an honest mistake, then you'll be flowing without all of that worry. The fifth way to reduce anxiety is to limit time watching the news, TV dramas, or dark TV series, especially the news. Unless you're particularly involved in journalism or politics or something else that requires it, it's useful to see just enough to keep you informed about anything important, and anything more is just exposure to a lot of dark and terrible things that are sensationalized and out of your control. The truth is, we can get addicted to the drama in the news and on TV because it feeds our ego, which feeds on negativity and which has the need to be right and have enemies and look at things with a sense of dismay. And if you were strapped into a chair with matchsticks holding your eyes open and forced to watch the news for 8 hours a day, it's highly likely that you would have to be highly mindful to avoid falling into a pit of despair. We're lucky enough to have an internet full of positive and empowering messages if you take the time to find them, and exposing yourself to that instead of ego-driven sensationalist news or TV dramas will have yourself feeling less anxious and more empowered to boot. The sixth way to reduce anxiety is to avoid lying. I know, we don't like to think we lie, but come on. Even the best of us have told a little white lie once in a while in order to gain something or avoid something, whether that be awkwardness or the fear of consequences after we've done a thing or two that didn't exactly align with our best self. I'm sure I've done it more than once in the past, but it was how to win friends and influence people that taught me to be as honest as humanly possible and to admit mistakes quickly. Most of the time, the consequences we fear aren't as bad as we crack them up to be in our head, and people tend to respect honesty and a swift apology. Of course, there are rare times when withholding a truth for a while is a strategic move in someone else's best interests, but overwhelmingly, most of the time, honesty is the best policy. So try your best to be as honest as possible, and you won't have to worry about covering your dishonest tracks because you won't have any to cover. The seventh way to reduce anxiety is to cut down on caffeine or any other drugs, including alcohol, that could have the potential to exacerbate anxiety. It's about experimenting and finding out what works best for you. For example, some people get on really well with coffee, but others are finding it beneficial for their anxiety levels to limit or cut it out altogether. The eighth way to reduce anxiety is to set up your bed so it's conducive to good sleep. Upgrade your mattress and pillows if you can afford to. I live in the middle of a city where the ambient light is pretty bright even at night, and it wouldn't be so cheap and easy for me to put up blackout curtains, so I've started wearing an eye mask to sleep. Yeah, I know. Sexy. And I did think for a minute that maybe I might be turning into an old man, but man, does it help with a good night's sleep. It keeps the melatonin production up, and a sound asleep means less feelings of unease during the day, so do what you can do to sleep well and reduce anxiety. And there's another bonus way to reduce anxiety, and that is to use body awareness to feel the unease in your body and dissolve it, instead of adding to it with more anxious thoughts. To have times where you're mindful and aware of the tensions that are building up, and where you perhaps meditate or lay on the couch and absorb yourself into the present moment by going deep into the sensations in your body and allowing them to surface with presence and acceptance. But that is a topic for a whole video which I'll be making sometime in the future. So if you don't want to miss out on that, hit subscribe and the notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new videos helping you with conscious personal growth.